Is it actually illegal to flush your toilet after 10 p.m. in Switzerland? If you've spent any time on the weird laws side of the internet, you've definitely heard this one, but it's actually a myth. There is no national toilet police in Switzerland. However, the Swiss do take their Nachtruhe, or night rest, incredibly seriously. Most apartment buildings have strict rules against making loud noises between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. This usually applies to things like running a washing machine, vacuuming, or practicing the drums. While flushing a modern toilet is perfectly fine, some very old buildings with thin walls might have house rules asking residents to be mindful. But you won't be facing a fine for a midnight flush. The really insane Swiss laws happen on Sundays. In many areas, it is strictly forbidden to mow your lawn, wash your car, or even recycle glass bottles on a Sunday because the noise might disturb your neighbor's day of rest. So keep the peace and maybe save the lawn mowing for Monday. Ever wonder why a dog can spot a liar before you can? It's not magic, it's biology. Can your dog actually tell if you're lying? Science says yes. A fascinating study from Kyoto University found that dogs are experts at sniffing out unreliable humans. In the experiment, researchers pointed dogs toward containers. If a human pointed to an empty container and tricked the dog would remember. The next time that same liar pointed to a bowl, even if it actually had food in it, the dog would simply ignore them. They had effectively blacklisted the person as untrustworthy. But it's not just about memory. Dogs are masters of social eavesdropping. They can detect the tiny spikes in your cortisol and adrenaline that happen when you're being deceptive. They also pick up on micro-expressions in your body language that other humans might miss. So if you're trying to trick your dog into thinking you've already fed them or hiding a pill in their treat, just remember, they don't just see what you're doing, they can smell the truth. When you see 40% chance of rain, most people think it means there's a 40% chance they'll get wet. But the truth is a bit more insane. Meteorologists actually use a mathematical formula to get that number. It's called confidence times area. For example, if a weather forecaster is 100% certain that rain will hit exactly half of your city, your app will show 50%. But it can also work the other way. If they are only 50% sure that a storm will even form, but they know that if it does, it will cover your entire town, the app will still show 50%. So that percentage isn't telling you how long it will rain or how heavy the downpour will be. It's a mix of how sure the experts are and how much ground the clouds will cover. Next time you see 10%, remember, it could be a 100% chance for a very small part of your neighborhood. Can a bolt of lightning actually cure blindness? It sounds like a superhero origin story, but for one man, a life-threatening accident became a medical miracle. In 1980, Edwin Robinson had been blind and deaf for nearly a decade after a traumatic accident. One afternoon, while searching for his pet chicken during a thunderstorm, he was struck by a massive bolt of lightning. The strike was so powerful, it knocked him unconscious and even singed his hair. But when Edwin woke up in his bed a few hours later, the insane happened. He could see. For the first time in 9 years, the world was no longer dark. Not only was his vision back, but his hearing had been perfectly restored too. Medical experts believe the lightning strike acted like a biological reboot. The electrical surge likely shocked his nervous system, clearing a neurological blockage that had been caused by his previous trauma. While doctors definitely don't recommend standing under trees during storms, for Edwin Robinson, lightning didn't just strike once, it gave him his life back. Have you ever been driving for hours and suddenly realized you have no memory of the last 10 miles? It's a terrifying feeling, but it's actually a biological phenomenon called highway hypnosis. When you drive a familiar route, your brain enters a state of automaticity. Your basal ganglia, the part of the brain responsible for habits, takes over the actual task of driving. It handles the steering, the pedals, and even traffic lights, all while your conscious mind is miles away thinking about dinner. But here's the insane part. Even though you feel like you're on autopilot, your subconscious is still on high alert. Studies show that if a hazard suddenly appears, your brain can snap back to full consciousness in less than a second. Essentially, your brain is so efficient at driving that it decides it doesn't even need you to be there for the boring parts. It's a literal autopilot built right into your head. Have you ever experienced this time travel behind the wheel? Let us know in the comments. Did you know there's a honey so rare it looks like it belongs in a fantasy movie? Deep in the sandhills of North Carolina, bees produce a mysterious glowing purple honey that exists nowhere else on Earth. This isn't made with dyes or artificial syrups. It is a 100% natural wonder. While traditional honey is golden, this purple nectar emerges in late summer with a taste described as sweet, like ripe blueberries or wild raspberries. Scientists are still baffled by its origin. Some believe it's caused by the unique aluminum content in the local soil, while others think it comes from the bees foraging on the kudzu plant. To many, this hidden treasure is a beautiful reminder of the infinite diversity and greatness of God's creation, kept as a secret within the heart of nature. Because it's so rare and the production is extremely limited, most people will go their entire lives without ever seeing a jar. It is truly one of the rarest natural treasures in the United States. Can you actually store sleep in a bank to use later? For years, scientists said it was impossible, that once you lose sleep, it's gone. But recent insane studies suggest that sleep storage might actually work. In a study by the Walter Reed Army Institute, one group slept 10 hours a night for a week, while another group slept the standard 7 hours. Then, they deprived both groups of sleep. The results were shocking. The sleep bankers performed significantly better on memory and reaction tests than the normal sleepers. Their brains had built up a protective buffer that kept them sharp even when they were exhausted. But don't get too excited. It's a one-way street. While you can store sleep ahead of time to prepare for a busy week, you can't pay back a sleep debt. Sleeping 14 hours on a Sunday won't undo the damage of a week of all-nighters. It just makes you more groggy. So if you know a massive project is coming up, start storing those extra hours now. Your future self will thank you. Have you ever wondered why classic biker jackets have that weird slanted zipper? It looks like a rebel fashion choice, but the real reason is pure insane engineering. Back in 1928, when Irving Schott designed the first Perfecto jacket, motorcycles didn't have windshields. If a rider used a normal jacket with a center zipper, the wind would cut right through the teeth of the zip, and the leather would bunch up uncomfortably as they leaned over the handlebars. By moving the zipper to the side, Schott created a double layer of thick leather across the chest, making it virtually windproof. The slanted design also kept the jacket perfectly flat while riding, preventing it from riding up into the biker's face. Even the snaps on the collar weren't for style. They were there to keep the lapels from flapping and hitting the rider in the eyes at 60 miles per hour. Every single buckle and zip on that jacket was designed to solve a problem, long before it ever became a symbol of cool. Did you know that art history can be this juicy? Next time you see a Dutch still life oil painting, look out for the lemon. Here's why. During the Dutch Golden Age, this zesty fruit was a symbol of status, wealth, global trade, and life itself in many still life oil paintings. Why artists loved the lemon. Status and wealth. As a costly, exotic import, a lemon in a painting or on your table signaled Dutch Republic dominance in global trade and prosperity. It was the ultimate status symbol. Not surprisingly, because during the Golden Age, the Dutch played a key role in developing modern capitalism. A technical oil painting flex. Masters like Willem Kalf and Pieter Claes could show off their skills painting its nubby skin, translucent flesh, and the geometrical perspective of the curling peel in perfect detail. It was a technical challenge and a race against the clock, as a peeled lemon loses its beauty and rots quickly. The iconic spiraling lemon peel is full of hidden meaning. It primarily served as a vanitas, a reminder of life's fleeting nature and the transience of luxury. The Dutch had a strong interest in mortality and appreciating the present. The lemon's duality, fragrant but sour, warned against excessive indulgence, reflecting the moral values of Calvinism. It was even cited as a folk remedy for lovesickness, which means life never gave us lemons. We invented it all by ourselves. Who is the only person in history to win both an Olympic gold medal and an Academy Award? Most people guess Kobe Bryant, and they're half right. Kobe won gold in 2008 and 2012, and an Oscar in 2018 for his film Dear Basketball. But for decades, that title belonged to only one man, Bill Russell. The basketball legend took home Olympic gold in 1956 and received an honorary Oscar in 2019. However, there is an even crazier version of this fact. Did you know there is an athlete who won a gold medal and then went on to become a Hollywood legend? Caitlyn Jenner won the decathlon gold in 1976, but while she has appeared in many films, she hasn't won an Oscar yet. The club Gold and Gold is among the most exclusive in the world. It requires you to be the absolute best on the planet in two completely different universes, the stadium and the cinema. Who do you think will be the next athlete to join this elite list? There is an old saying, nothing can destroy iron but its own rust can. While it sounds like a deep life lesson, the science behind it is actually terrifying. Iron is one of the strongest materials on Earth, used to build skyscrapers and giant ships. But it has one fatal flaw. It's self-destructive. When iron is exposed to oxygen and water, it doesn't just change color, it undergoes a slow-motion explosion called oxidation. Unlike other metals that develop a protective layer when they oxidize, iron does the opposite. As it rusts, the metal actually expands and becomes brittle. This causes the surface to flake off, exposing the healthy iron underneath to the air. This creates a deadly cycle in which the iron literally eats itself from the inside out, leaving nothing but dust. It's a powerful reminder that the greatest strength can be brought down by the smallest internal neglect. Stay tuned to its Sci-Facts Info for more insane science secrets. Can your morning coffee actually help you age more slowly? A massive new study says yes, but there's a deadly limit you need to know about. Researchers have discovered that drinking 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day can actually lengthen your telomeres. These are the protective caps on your DNA that naturally shorten as you age. In people with severe mental illnesses, who often age faster than the general population, moderate coffee drinkers had cells that were biologically 5 years younger than those who didn't drink any. But don't start chugging yet. The science shows a J-curve effect. While 3 cups is the sweet spot for longevity and a lower risk of dementia, crossing over to 5 cups or more can actually cause cellular damage and spike your anxiety levels. So, coffee isn't just a drink. It's a biological shield against stress and aging, as long as you don't overdo it. What would happen if you drilled a hole straight through the Antarctic ice and jumped in? As you fall, the snow around you instantly vanishes, replaced by walls of dense, glowing blue ice. You're falling through a frozen time machine. The air bubbles trapped in the ice next to your face are from the Renaissance, then ancient Rome, then the last ice age. But as you pass the 2-mile mark, things get weird. The temperature starts to rise. Even though you're in the coldest place on Earth, the heat from the Earth's core and the crushing pressure from 2 miles of ice above you create a forbidden zone. Suddenly, the ice turns into liquid water. You splash into a subglacial lake that has been sealed off from the world for 15 million years. This water is so packed with oxygen and nitrogen that it's like jumping into a giant pressurized bottle of soda. You're now swimming in a pitch-black world of ancient chemicals miles beneath the surface. Would you take the leap? Have you ever heard the insane story of the hedgehog's revenge? Legend says that if a male hedgehog leaves his mate for another, the female will dig them a new home as a gift, only to bury them alive once they step inside. It sounds like a movie plot, but the scientific truth is actually much lonelier. In the real world, hedgehogs are solo artists. They don't marry, they don't live in pairs, and they definitely don't stay for the drama. Males and females meet for just a few minutes to mate, and then they never see each other again. The female is a single mom who builds the nest and raises the hoglets entirely on her own. The male doesn't stick around to cheat because he was never there to begin with. The idea of a jealous hedgehog is just a human myth we've projected onto these prickly little creatures. They might be covered in spines, but their love lives are actually very simple. Did you know that octopuses are the ultimate bullies of the ocean? Scientists have discovered that these eight-legged geniuses will sometimes punch fish in the face, and they don't always have a good reason for it. Usually, octopuses and fish work together to hunt, but researchers in the Red Sea caught octopuses delivering swift, aggressive slaps to their fish partners. Sometimes it's tactical, like shoving a coworker out of the way to get to the food first. But here's the insane part. Scientists recorded multiple instances where there was no food at all. The octopus just swam up and punched a fish for no apparent reason. Biologists believe these octopuses might just be bored, annoyed, or even acting out of pure spite. Imagine being a fish, just minding your business, only to get decked by an octopus having a bad day. It turns out being a genius doesn't always make you a nice neighbor. Think you know what a snake sounds like? Think again. Most snakes hiss, but the king cobra, the largest venomous snake on Earth, actually roars. When this 19-foot predator feels threatened, it doesn't just give a high-pitched warning. It uses special chambers in its windpipe to produce a low-frequency growl that sounds more like a large dog than a reptile. But the insane part isn't just the sound, it's the lifestyle. Its scientific name, Ophiophagus, literally means snake eater. This king survives by hunting down and eating other snakes, including venomous ones. And while other snakes rely on the potency of their venom, the king cobra relies on sheer volume. One single bite can deliver enough venom to take down a full-grown elephant. So, if you're ever in the jungles of Southeast Asia and you hear a low, vibrating growl from the tall grass, don't look for a tiger. You might be standing face to face with the king. The largest river on Earth isn't the Amazon. It's actually 3 miles above your head. Scientists call them atmospheric rivers, and they are invisible giants that shape our world's climate. Imagine a narrow band of water vapor, thousands of miles long. A single one of these sky rivers can carry more water than 25 Mississippi rivers combined. They are the Earth's ultimate delivery service, moving 90% of the world's tropical moisture toward the poles. In 2026, new research from NOAA and Ceres revealed that these rivers are becoming supercharged by a warming atmosphere, leading to record-breaking floods and drought-busting snowpacks. They even act as a transcontinental bridge, carrying Saharan dust all the way to the Amazon rainforest to fertilize the soil. Most of the time, you can't see them, until they hit a mountain and explode into massive rainstorms. The next time it pours, remember, you're not just seeing a storm, you're seeing the discharge of a river in the sky. Why does your skin turn into a plucked chicken whenever you're cold, scared, or listening to a haunting song? It's not just a weird quirk, it's an ancient survival reflex your body forgot to delete. It's called piloerection. Millions of years ago, when our ancestors were covered in thick fur, tiny muscles called erector pili would pull their hair upright. If they were cold, this fluffed-up fur trapped a layer of heat, keeping them warm. If they were threatened, it made them look twice as big to scare off predators, just like a cat arching its back. Even though we've lost our fur, the software for this defense mechanism is still running in our DNA. When your brain senses a chill or a creeped-out vibe, it releases adrenaline, triggering those same tiny muscles to pull on skin that no longer has enough hair to hide the bumps. So the next time you get goosebumps, just remember, that's your inner caveman trying to keep you warm and scary. Why did the world's most powerful army only wear armor on one leg? If you look at a Roman legionary, you'll see that his left leg is armored, while his right is completely exposed. This wasn't a mistake. It was a ruthless tactical choice. In the early days, Rome fought like the Greeks in a stiff phalanx. But after being crushed in the rugged Italian mountains, they reinvented warfare. They created the maniple system and the massive curved scutum shield. When a Roman fought, he stood with his left side forward, tucking his body behind that giant shield. His left leg was the only part of his lower body exposed to the enemy, so that's where the protection went. The right leg was safely tucked back, ready to spring forward for a lethal stab with a gladius. But there was also a human reason: money. Most Roman soldiers had to buy their own gear. Why pay double for armor you weren't even going to use? Rome didn't just win with swords. They won with math, economics, and common sense. What is the closest thing to human breast milk in the animal kingdom? If you guessed a goat or a cow, you're actually wrong. The biological twin to human milk is actually donkey milk. It sounds insane, but the math doesn't lie. Human milk is unique because it's low in protein but incredibly high in lactose, the sugar that fuels our massive brains. While cow and goat milk are packed with protein to build big muscles and heavy bones, donkey milk perfectly mirrors our high sugar, low protein profile. In the 1800s, hospitals in Europe even kept nanny donkeys to nurse orphaned infants because their tiny stomachs could digest it almost as easily as the real thing. It's also loaded with lysozyme, a natural antibiotic that's 200 times more powerful than what you find in cow's milk. So while we might think of donkeys as just farm animals, for centuries they were the ultimate biological backup for human survival. Is a 500-year-old skill about to go extinct? You might not realize it, but the simple act of reading an analog clock is fading away, and it's changing how our brains work. For centuries, humans used the spatial logic of a clock face to understand time. When you see the hands, your brain isn't just reading numbers, it's calculating a pie chart of your day. But today, a generation raised on digital screens is losing this ability. In fact, some schools have had to remove analog clocks from exam rooms because students couldn't tell how much time they had left. But it's not just about being old school. Research suggests that reading analog clocks helps develop spatial reasoning and better time management. Without that visual wedge of time, we suffer from time blindness, seeing only the current moment rather than the flow of the hour. Are we getting smarter with our tech, or are we losing a vital mental muscle? Can you still read a watch without numbers? Can you imagine a pig that glows like a neon sign? This isn't CGI, it's a real medical breakthrough. Scientists have successfully created glow-in-the-dark pigs by borrowing a secret from the ocean. They take the green fluorescent protein gene from bioluminescent jellyfish and inject it into pig embryos. The result? Pigs that look normal during the day, but under UV light, their snouts, skin, and even their internal organs glow a brilliant neon green. But why? It's not for a light show. The glow acts as a biological tracking device. By making certain cells glow, researchers can watch in real time as stem cells move through the body to repair damaged tissue. This insane technology is helping us figure out how to one day grow human-compatible organs inside animals, potentially saving thousands of lives. Science is literally lighting up the future. Would you ever keep a glowing pig as a pet? Can a single tree grow over 40 different types of fruit? It sounds like a glitch in the Matrix, but the tree of 40 fruit is a real medical and artistic marvel. Created by artist Sam Van Aken, these trees are a living masterpiece of a technique called chip grafting. By carefully fusing branches from different species onto a single host tree, Van Aken created a plant that blossoms in a kaleidoscope of pink, purple, and white every spring. But it's not just for show. Each tree is a living library of history, growing rare and ancient varieties of peaches, plums, and cherries that you can't find in any grocery store. As you move around the tree, you can pick a nectarine from one branch and an almond from the next. In a world where we are losing genetic diversity in our food, these insane trees are standing as a beautiful, edible archive of nature's best work. Although it resembles something from a fairy tale, the project fulfills a vital scientific purpose: conservation. Many of the fruits on these trees are heirloom varieties that are no longer cultivated commercially. By grafting dozens of different varieties onto a single trunk, Van Aken has established a living archive of stone fruit diversity that might otherwise have been lost due to industrial farming. This innovative approach not only preserves genetic diversity, but also provides a resilient resource for future breeding and research efforts. Think hitting the gas will save you tons of time? Science says you're probably wrong. This is the speed trap myth, a perfect example of the law of diminishing returns. Imagine you're cruising at 65 miles per hour on the highway and realize you're late. You speed up to 75 miles per hour, thinking you'll make up for lost time. But here's the insane reality. After 5 minutes, you've likely only saved one single minute. As your speed increases, the actual time you save for every extra mile per hour gets smaller and smaller. But while the time savings shrink, the risks explode. Speeding significantly increases your braking distance and exponentially increases your fuel consumption. You're burning more money and risking a fatal accident, all for a measly 60 seconds. So next time you're tempted to floor it, remember, the faster you're already going, the less it helps to go faster. Keep it steady, stay safe, and save your gas money. Ever wondered why a gallon of honey is nearly 50% heavier than a gallon of water? It sounds like a trick question, but the science is insane. If you put a gallon of water on a scale, it weighs about 8.3 pounds. But a gallon of honey? That's a massive 12 pounds. Even though they take up the same amount of space, honey is way denser. Think of it like this. Water is made of small, simple molecules. Honey is a supersaturated solution, meaning it's packed to the brim with heavy sugar molecules like fructose and glucose. In fact, honey is only about 18% water. The rest is a dense forest of sugars and minerals. These molecules are so tightly packed that they can barely move, which is why honey is so thick and why it sinks straight to the bottom of a glass of water. It's not just the sweetener. It's one of the heaviest liquids in your kitchen. Did you know that ancient warriors were using nanotechnology hundreds of years before it was invented? This is the mystery of Damascus steel. Legend says these swords were so sharp they could slice a silk scarf falling through the air, and so strong they could cut through a stone pillar without chipping. But by the 1700s, the secret to making them was completely lost. In 2006, scientists finally put a 17th century blade under an electron microscope and found something insane: carbon nanotubes. These are microscopic structures that modern science has only recently discovered. Ancient blacksmiths were unknowingly using a complex chemical process involving Indian wood steel and specific organic materials to create these super strong structures. Today, most Damascus you see is just different types of steel folded together for a cool pattern. But the original nano-powered secret of the ancient world? That might be a mystery that stays buried in history. Did you know that 36% of people Google themselves at least once a week? It sounds like an insane level of vanity, but in 2026, it's actually a high-speed game of digital survival. We live in an age where your Google search results are your digital first impression. Whether it's a potential employer, a new landlord, or a first date, someone is likely Googling you right now. That 36% of people aren't just looking at their own photos, they are performing reputation hygiene. They're checking for digital ghosts, old posts or data leaks that could ruin a career in seconds. But there's a psychological twist, the spotlight effect. We often check our search results because we think the whole world is watching our every move online, even when they're usually just busy Googling themselves. So be honest, when was the last time you typed your own name into that search bar? Have you ever found something insane about yourself? Have you ever heard that newspaper stands for North, East, West, South, Past, and Present Events Report? It sounds like a brilliant piece of 17th century branding, but the truth is actually much more insane. It's a total lie. This is what linguists call a backronym. The word didn't start as an acronym. It was just a simple combination of the words news and paper. Before the 1600s, people got their information from newsbooks or news pamphlets. When the format shifted to large single sheets of paper, the name followed suit. The idea that it represents the four cardinal directions and the flow of time was actually made up centuries later to make the word sound more impressive. In reality, news comes from an old French word that literally just means new things. The next time someone tells you the North-South story, you can let them know they've been reading a work of fiction. The mirror mirage. You have never actually seen your own face. Think about it. Every time you look in a mirror or even take a selfie, you're looking at a reflection, a flipped, backwards version of yourself that doesn't actually exist. Everyone else on Earth, your friends, your family, even strangers on the street, knows what you truly look like. But to you, your real face is a mystery. This is actually why we often hate how we look in photos. It's called the mirror exposure effect. You are so used to seeing your reversed face in the mirror that when you see a true photo of yourself, your brain thinks something is wrong. And it gets even weirder. Because light has to travel to the mirror and back to your eyes, you are always looking at a version of yourself from a fraction of a second ago. You aren't just seeing a reflection, you're looking at a ghost from the past. You are the only person in the world who will never truly see yourself the way the rest of the world does. Does that make you feel special or just a little bit insane? Is the average person a walking gas factory? While we're taught to be embarrassed by it, passing gas is actually a sign that your body's inner ecosystem is working perfectly. Inside your large intestine, trillions of bacteria are hard at work breaking down fiber. The gas they produce is a healthy byproduct of that fermentation. In fact, if you didn't pass gas about 14 to 20 times a day, your colon would be under dangerous amounts of pressure. But here's the insane part. Scientists have found that the smell, specifically hydrogen sulfide, might actually be good for you. In tiny amounts, this gas helps protect your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, from damage and disease. The 26-minute shopping clock. Ever feel like you've hit a wall while walking through the mall? If you're a man shopping with your wife or girlfriend, there is a very specific biological countdown happening in your head. Recent studies show that the average man gets bored after just 26 minutes of shopping. While it might feel like hours of endless browsing, that 26-minute mark is when the shopping fatigue typically kicks in. For many men, the process of constant decision-making and walking without a clear, immediate goal triggers a mental shutdown. Compare that to the average woman, who usually doesn't feel that same level of boredom for nearly 2 hours. So if you notice your partner looking for the nearest bench or checking their watch, just know their internal shopping clock has officially run out of batteries. It's not just a mood, it's essentially a timed biological reflex. Think the biggest danger from a volcano is the red-hot lava? Think again. Lava is actually one of the slowest ways a volcano tries to kill you. The real insane threats are the ones you can't even see. First, there's the invisible river. Volcanoes leak massive amounts of carbon dioxide. Because it's heavier than air, this gas can flow down mountains and pool in valleys, silently suffocating entire villages while they sleep. Then there's the pyroclastic flow, a wall of superheated gas and rock that travels at 400 miles per hour. It's so fast and hot that it can turn a forest into charcoal in seconds. And that ash falling from the sky? It's not soft. It's actually tiny shards of volcanic glass. If you breathe it in, it turns into a type of liquid cement in your lungs. We might not be scared enough of the fire, but it's the air that we should really be watching. Did you know the inventor of Vaseline was so obsessed with his product that he ate a spoonful of it every single day? In 1859, Robert Cheesebro discovered that oil workers were using a sticky rod wax from their rigs to heal their wounds. He refined it into a clear jelly and spent the rest of his life as a human billboard. He would literally burn his own skin with acid in public just to show how fast it healed with his wonder jelly. But here's the insane science. Vaseline doesn't actually have any medicine in it. It's an occlusive, which means it creates a 100% waterproof seal over your skin. It doesn't heal you. It just traps your body's moisture inside, keeping bacteria out and letting your skin repair itself in record time. Robert lived to be 96 years old and credited his long life to his daily dose of petroleum jelly. In the 1800s, you weren't walking on concrete, but on a giant forest. Before the age of asphalt, cities like Chicago and London were paved with millions of wooden blocks. Why wood? Because iron wagon wheels on stone cobblestones were so loud, they made it impossible to talk. Wood was the 19th century version of silent pavement, quiet, smooth, and providing horses with great traction. But there was a disgusting catch. Wood is a sponge. These blocks soaked up everything from rainwater to horse urine, turning the city into a giant stinking mess every time it got hot. Even worse, during floods, the streets would literally float away. And in the Great Chicago Fire, the tar-soaked wooden roads acted like fuses, helping the flames jump from block to block. Eventually, the world realized that building roads out of flammable sponges was a bad idea, and cement took over. The crutches used in America are considered outdated by almost the entire rest of the world. While Europe and Asia use forearm crutches, the US is still obsessed with the underarm version. But why? It comes down to cost and a dangerous shortcut. Underarm crutches are dirt cheap and easy for beginners to use without training. But there's an insane hidden danger: crutch paralysis. When you lean your weight into those armpit pads, you are crushing the brachial plexus, the main nerve highway to your arms. Do it long enough, and you could lose feeling in your hands forever. Forearm crutches are actually safer, better for your posture, and much more stable. But they take longer to learn and cost more to make. In the race to get patients out the door, America chose the cheap, easy, and potentially paralyzing option. Would you trade a week of learning for a lifetime of nerve health? Let us know in the comments. Have you ever realized that you are just the universe looking at itself in a mirror? There's a famous scientific paradox that says science can never truly solve the mystery of nature. Why? Because we are nature. Every time a scientist looks through a telescope or a microscope, they are looking at a collection of atoms, trying to figure out how atoms work. Think about it. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood were forged in the hearts of dying stars billions of years ago. When you study the stars, those stars are essentially looking back at where they came from. This is why quantum physics gets so weird. The act of observing a particle actually changes how it behaves. We can't get the full picture because we are inside the picture. We aren't just living in the universe. We are a way for the universe to experience itself. Does that make you feel small or like the most important part of the puzzle? Your brain is actually tricking you into losing money. It's an insane biological glitch. A study of over 5,500 people revealed that gamblers don't actually play for the money. Even when they are losing everything, their bodies are pumping out massive amounts of adrenaline and endorphins. To your brain, the rush of the risk is more important than the cash in your pocket. It's a fun trade that your biology is wired to enjoy, even when it's destroying your bank account. So how do we break the loop? Will Rogers said there are only two ways to get smarter: reading and hanging out with people who know more than you do. If you want to beat the gambler's glitch, you have to stop trusting your rush and start trusting your library. Are you playing for the win? Or are you just addicted to the feeling of the risk? Have you ever felt like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop whenever things are going too well? You might actually have cherophobia, the literal fear of being happy. It sounds insane, but people with this phobia believe that joy is just a setup for disaster. They avoid parties, skip fun events, and steer clear of positive news because their brain is convinced that happiness always comes at a price. And speaking of brain glitches, did you know your body actually rewards you for losing? Scientists found that gamblers get a massive hit of adrenaline and endorphins even when they are losing money. To your brain, the rush of the risk is better than the win itself. It's a biological trap that makes us chase fun trades all the way to a zero balance. Are we rational thinkers or just collections of chemicals making bad choices? Your nose has a secret way of telling the world you're lying. It's called the Pinocchio effect, and it's a real-life scientific discovery. Researchers at the University of Granada found that while your nose won't get longer, it does get hotter. Every time you tell a lie, the temperature of the skin around your nose and your eyes actually rises. It's a biological glitch caused by the mental stress of keeping your story straight. This is just like cherophobia, where people are afraid of being happy, or the gambler's rush, where the body pumps out adrenaline even when losing money. Our brains might think they're in control, but our biology is constantly leaking the truth. So the next time you try to pull a fast one, remember, your face might be glowing like a neon sign. Is your body your best friend or your biggest snitch? Are you literally glowing? It sounds insane, but it's a scientific fact. Humans are bioluminescent. Deep inside your cells, chemical reactions constantly release tiny packets of light called photons. If you were in a perfectly dark room, you would be emitting a faint ethereal light. The only reason your friends can't see it is that the glow is 1,000 times too weak for the human eye to detect. But that's not the only way your body lights up. If you tell a lie, your nose actually gets hotter in what scientists call the Pinocchio effect. While we can't see the light, thermal cameras can see the heat from your lies from across the room. We are basically walking light bulbs that give off heat when we're dishonest. Did you know you actually have two brains? You're probably using the one in your head to watch this video, but there's another one hiding in your gut. It's called the enteric nervous system, and it's a web of 100 million neurons that lives in your digestive tract. This second brain doesn't do math, but it does control your mood. Scientists have found that 90% of your body's serotonin, the happy chemical, is produced in your gut. This is why trusting your gut is real, and why feeling physically comfortable after a meal can instantly reduce your stress and make you feel more at ease. Your gut is literally talking to your head, telling it whether to be calm or anxious. So next time you feel a bit of abdominal discomfort, remember, it's not just a stomachache, it's your second brain having a bad day. You can't swallow and breathe at the same time. But ever wondered why? It's not just humans. Most mammals can breathe while they eat, but adult humans are a biological glitch. Because our voice box, larynx, is positioned lower in the throat to allow for complex speech. The air and food pathways cross. This unique adaptation makes us the only primates that risk choking every time we take a bite. Interestingly, this anatomical difference also contributed to our ability to develop diverse languages and advanced communication skills, setting us apart from other primates. Your fingertips resemble tire treads, which is no coincidence. The wrinkles that form on your fingers when submerged in water are not merely from liquid absorption. They are an automatic response controlled by your autonomic nervous system. These wrinkles act like the treads on a rain tire, designed to channel water away from your skin, allowing you to maintain a secure grip on wet or slippery objects, even in the most challenging conditions. You breathe primarily out of one nostril. At any given moment, you are doing about 75% of your breathing through just one nostril. Every few hours, your body switches sides in a process called the nasal cycle. This is controlled by your autonomic nervous system and helps maintain your sense of smell. Gold is literally composed of stardust. Every piece of gold ever mined on Earth didn't originate here. Instead, gold is formed during enormous cosmic events, such as supernovae explosions or the collision of neutron stars. These cataclysmic events scatter heavy metals across the universe, and over billions of years, some of this material becomes part of planetary bodies, including Earth. During Earth's formation, gold and other heavy elements sank toward the core, becoming integral to our planet's inner structure and contributing to its unique composition. This connection to stellar phenomena highlights the extraordinary journey of gold from distant stars to our hands. Shark skin is made of teeth. If you were to pet a shark from tail to head, it would feel like sandpaper. This rough texture is due to thousands of tiny, tooth-like scales called dermal denticles that coat the shark's skin. These dermal denticles are not just for protection. They play a crucial role in reducing water resistance, allowing the shark to glide smoothly and efficiently through the water. This adaptation enables sharks to be nearly silent, high-speed hunters, making them one of the most effective predators in the ocean. Have you ever felt like the more you learn, the less you actually know? There's an insane scientific reason for that. Will Rogers once said that humans only learn in two ways, by reading and by hanging out with people smarter than them. But even if you were the smartest person on Earth, you'd eventually hit a glitch in the universe. Scientists like Max Planck realized that science can never solve the ultimate mystery of nature. Why? Because we aren't just watching the show, we are in the show. We are made of the same atoms and energy we are trying to study. It's like a character in a video game trying to understand the source code of the computer they are running on. We can't solve the mystery because we are the mystery. Does that make you feel like a genius? Or just a tiny part of a massive loop? Are humans wetness blind? It sounds insane, but your skin can't actually feel water. Unlike some insects, which have specialized moisture sensors, humans have to guess. Your brain creates the sensation of wet by mixing two different signals, cold and pressure. When you touch something that is both cold and moving against your skin, your brain's software interprets it as wet. This is why you can be easily tricked. Have you ever put on a pair of jeans that felt damp, only to realize they were just really cold? That's your brain's sensory glitch in action. It's receiving the cold signal, feeling the fabric's pressure, and jumping to the wrong conclusion. We don't actually feel the water. We just feel the chill. Did you know the largest ship to ever sink on the Great Lakes vanished without a single cry for help? This is the mystery of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. In November 1975, the mighty Fitz was caught in a hurricane-force storm on Lake Superior, with waves as tall as 3-story buildings. Then, in the blink of an eye, she disappeared from radar. She didn't hit another ship or a rock. She simply plummeted to the bottom, 530 feet down, and broke in half. This tragedy changed maritime law forever. Before the Fitzgerald, sailors didn't have survival suits to protect them from the freezing water, and ships weren't even required to have depth finders. Because of the 29 men lost that night, every ship today is equipped with survival gear and GPS tracking, which makes a silent sinking almost impossible. The Great Lakes might be beautiful, but they hold secrets that have rewritten the rules of the sea. You've been told 1,000 times that soda is bad for your teeth and your waistline. But did you know your doctor might actually prescribe a glass of Coca-Cola to save your life? It sounds like a bad health tip from the 1920s, but it's a very real medical practice used today to treat something called a gastric phytobezoar. A bezoar is essentially a solid mass of undigested material, like fiber, seeds, or even hair, that gets trapped in your stomach and causes a dangerous blockage. Usually this would require surgery, but doctors discovered that the unique combination of chemical acidity and carbon dioxide bubbles in certain sodas works like a biological drain cleaner. The bubbles penetrate the mass, while the acid breaks down the fibers, dissolving the blockage without a single incision. In some clinical studies, Coke therapy had a success rate of over 90%. So, while it's definitely not a reason to drink a six-pack every day, it turns out that the same stuff that can clean rust off a penny can also be a literal lifesaver in the emergency room. If these facts gave you a hit of that musical dopamine rush, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to @SciFactsInfo for your daily dose of the extraordinary. Which of these facts made you question reality the most? Let us know in the comments below, and remember, you aren't just living in the universe, you are the universe experiencing itself. See you in the next one!